Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the graduation ceremony for graduates of the Faculties of Engineering, Environmental Sciences, Health Sciences, Information and Communication Technology, and Nursing and Health. In a few moments, the graduation ceremony will commence. The procession of staff will enter first. After a brief pause, the university fanfares will announce the entry of the dais party. I will signal to you that you are to rise and remain standing until both the staff procession and the dais party are seated. Please do not stand until I ask you to. May I also remind you that flash photography is prohibited in this auditorium. For the mutual comfort and enjoyment of all members of the audience, the university requests your cooperation in observing this rule.
Fellow members of the Council of Griffith University, Vice Chancellor of Griffith University, Professor Roy Webb, Councillor Dawn Critchlow of the Gold Coast City Council, Mr. Peter Hobart, Chair of the University's Gold Coast Advisory Council, and other members of the Advisory Council, staff and students of the university, including the graduating students, Special guest Mr. Clive Hildebrand. Ladies and gentlemen, as Chancellor of Griffith University, I'm pleased to welcome everyone, and I thank you for joining us on this special occasion. Graduation ceremonies are part of the rich tradition of universities worldwide. They allow public acknowledgement of the achievements of graduating students and afford an opportunity for family, friends and peers to join in celebration of those achievements. In a time when the relevance of many of society's traditional ceremonials is being questioned, we at Griffith believe that this formal recognition of our graduates is a tradition that will endure. Our graduates will shortly come forward to be individually acknowledged. We will share their pride, and I offer warmest congratulations to each of them. This afternoon we extend a welcome to Mr. Clive Hildebrand, the chairman of Oster Electric and a former member of the Council of Griffith University. Mr. Hildebrand has had a distinguished career in business. He also holds an appointment as honorary professor with Griffith University. We're pleased that Mr. Hildebrand has joined us this afternoon, and we shall look forward to his address later in the proceedings. Many of you may not be aware that Griffith is now the 8th largest university in Australia in terms of funded student load. We're a multi-campus institution with 6 campuses operating in the Brisbane Gold Coast corridor, and we have more than 21,500 students enrolled in an extensive array of undergraduate and postgraduate courses. Our campuses are situated in the fastest growing region of Australia. Whereas some other states have experienced a decline in student demand for tertiary education, the opposite has been true in Queensland. In recent years, Griffith and the other universities in Queensland have actively lobbied federal and state governments, presenting a strong case for additional funded places. Our efforts resulted in over 3,000 new undergraduate places being awarded to Griffith for the period 1995 to 1999. 60% of these places have been allocated to the university's Gold Coast campus and the remainder to our new campus at Logan. We are pleased with this outcome, but we will continue to argue the case for additional places to ensure that the community we serve has the best possible access to tertiary education. Over the past 6 years, the university's Gold Coast campus has experienced particularly rapid growth, and student numbers have more than doubled. They've grown from about 2,600 in 1992 to over 6,300 this year. The growth in student numbers has been accompanied by a significant increase in the range of courses offered at the campus and in the appointment of senior academic staff at associate professor and professorial level. These senior staff, with international reputations in their disciplines, provide leadership in course development and in the campus's growing research profile. To accommodate the growth in student and staff numbers, the university has allocated some $50 million to support a major building program at this campus. The major part of these funds was drawn from the university's capital reserves. Those of you familiar with the campus from its days as the Gold Coast College of Advanced Education will particularly appreciate the very great improvement in buildings and infrastructure that has resulted coming from this capital investment. In the past year, new lecture theatres, library, administration building, visual arts building, drama theatre and specialist research laboratories have been completed. Planning for further buildings and specialised teaching space is underway. I should like to acknowledge the involvement of our student body at the Gold Coast in the provision of facilities at the campus. The Student Guild has contributed to funding for the Link Building and Colours Cafe and has provided a number of recreational facilities. Students and staff enjoy the benefits of catering, commercial and recreational services managed by the Student Guild. All are grateful for that commitment to the development of the campus. A microwave link has been installed at a cost of $1 million to provide state-of-the-art telecommunications links between the university's Nathan, Mount Gravatt, Logan and Gold Coast campuses. This telecommunications backbone provides high-speed transmission of image, sound and data between the campuses and provides a high degree of flexibility in delivery and access to information for teaching, research and administrative purposes. A further $1.5 million has been spent on improvements to the campus network infrastructure. The development of courses and subjects in flexible learning modes, including interactive, multimedia through the internet, is a particular feature of our Logan campus. The university intends to expand flexible learning opportunities to all campuses, and the microwave link will be an integral feature of this plan. The university's pride in its Gold Coast campus is evident. Our range of undergraduate courses attracts high caliber students, and enrolments in research higher degrees are steadily increasing. There are over 1,000 international students enrolled at the campus. These students are actively involved in all facets of campus life, and their annual United Colours evening showcases the cultural diversity of the campus. The research profile has been considerably enhanced through the work of the Cooperative Research Centre for Sustainable Tourism, with its headquarters at the Gold Coast campus. Organisations participating in the Cooperative Research Centre include the University of Queensland, the Southern Cross University, James Cook University, the Northern Territory University, the University of Sydney, the Australian Federation of Travel Agents, the Tourism Council of Australia, the Queensland Department of the Environment, and the Queensland Tourism and Travel Corporation. Molecular genetic researchers in the School of Health Sciences are undertaking a $2.4 million research project funded by Gemini Research, a British-based company which is developing an international database to house clinical information concerning genetic patterns in twins and their siblings. Griffith is the first Australian university to join the Pacific Rim Consortium for International Business Education and Research. Consortium membership is drawn from 27 elite universities in 11 countries to further develop international business education excellence. Membership of the consortium also provides opportunities for staff and student exchange between member institutions. These features will be of particular interest to students seeking to take part of their studies abroad. Membership of the consortium and the range of international agreements that exist between Griffith and the universities worldwide will assist our students in obtaining work experience with multinational firms in employments abroad. Our students graduating this afternoon are from the School of Engineering, the School of Applied Sciences, the School of Information Technology, the School of Exercise Science, and the School of Nursing. Professor Yu Che Lu, head of the School of Engineering, represented Griffith University as part of the Mayor of the Gold Coast City Council's delegation to China in October. The Vice-Chancellor and Professor Lu will travel to Beihai in the near future to sign a memorandum of understanding between Griffith and Beihai City Government. Under the terms of the memorandum, Griffith University will offer workshops and short professional development courses for officials and nominees of the Bay High City Government in the areas of engineering, science and technology, education and the arts, business and trade, and nursing and health sciences. Staff from all of the faculties represented this afternoon will be involved in the development and delivery of these courses. Let me return now to our graduating students. We're here this afternoon to give them the recognition that is their due. With their studies now complete, they're ready to receive their awards. All will have acquired knowledge and skills called for in their chosen fields of endeavour. More importantly, they will also have acquired a set of generic learning skills. An ability to critically analyse information and form considered opinions will remain with them throughout their lives. I congratulate all of them on their achievements and express our warmest wishes for success in their future careers. I now call on the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Research, Professor Dennis Lincoln, to introduce the deans who will present the students graduating this afternoon as they receive their awards at this ceremony. Thank you.
Chancellor, Professor Barry Harrison, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering. Emon Baker. Paul Davison. Stephen Elliott. Trent James. Peter Johnson. Kama Karupu. Martin Payne. Peter Walker. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Engineering with First Class Honours in Civil Engineering. Michael Chilvers. Matthew James. Angela Salzman. Chancellor, the next graduate has been awarded the Engineering Medal for 1997 for outstanding academic achievement. Rodney Stewart. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Engineering with Second Class Honours, Division A in Civil Engineering. Maria Andrew. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Engineering with Second Class Honours, Division B in Civil Engineering. John Hargraves. Christopher Jeffrey. Philip Morgan. Trevor Mudge. Mark Taylor. Malcolm Tilgner. Regan White. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Engineering.
Chancellor, Professor William Hogarth, Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Science. Monique Backer. Peter Berry. Ross Calder. Stephen Cooper. Mark Decker. Michael Gunter. Renee Hines. Stephen Hindmarch. Philip Leach. Michelle Murdoch. Chancellor, the next graduate has also been awarded the Applied Science Medal for 1997 for outstanding academic achievement. Jonathan Nichols. Sol Parton. Cole Pushman. Scott Rogers. Stephen Rogers. David Rowe. Pascal Scherer. Daniel Stock. Craig Thompson. Daniel Thompson. Nicole Thayer. David Warner. Prue Williams. Mark Woodger. John Zakos. Chancellor, I present a graduate who's been granted the Bachelor of Science with First Class Honours, Leon Hugo. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences.
Chancellor, Professor John O'Gorman, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Exercise Science. Darryl Ollart. Warwick Bain. Carly Bell. Danny Brentnell. Kristen Cole. Vanessa Copas. Julie Dixon. Diana Lyon. Paul McLean. Natalie Preguni. Simon Skews. Isaac Tonello. Kristen Trezona. Justin Waite. Martin Windsor. Mark Wyatt. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Health Science. Philip Bowler. Lisa Ann Bromley. Chris Curry. Anna Darcy. Nicole Gard. Cherry Hugo. Matthew Parry. Nathan Peach. Kerry Phelps. Leah Porter. Kevin Roy. Melissa Sharp. Deborah Spears. Chancellor, the next graduate has also been granted the Health Science Medal for 1997 for outstanding academic achievement. Adele Wayne. Adam Wardrope. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Health Science with First Class Honours. Joanne Curran. Andre Dalton. Nicholas Deftros. Gary Dennis. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Health Sciences.
Chancellor, Professor Paul Pritchard, Dean of the Faculty of Information and Communication Technology.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Information Technology. Philip Cranfield. Chancellor, the next graduate has also been awarded the Information Technology Medal for 1997 for outstanding academic achievement. Polon Fechny. Keith Foley. Lisa Frost. Anthony Gray. Cameron Moore. Ryan Moore. Jodie Pringle. Scott Reinhardt. Mark Taylor. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Computing. Roar Akavik. Mark Su. Christopher Lane. Sonny Larson. Jiangwang Wu. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Information and Communication Technology.
Chancellor, Professor Anne McMurray, Dean of the Faculty of Nursing and Health.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Nursing. Laurie Edma. Barney Andrews. Lauren Baker. Carrie Barber. Linda Benz. Amanda Boland. Tracy Bauer. Sandy Bryan. Natalie Buckman. Yvonne Cave. Tracy Kennard. Leanne Carney. Selena Carter. Leonie Clancy. Mandy Cook. Julia Crilly. Amber Dalby. Martin Daly. Karen Davidson. Jenny Durnan. Robin Eames. Haley Ellen. Rayleigh Felsman. Jillian Fisher. Belinda Foley. Daniel Folco. Therese Gardner. Tracy Lee Goller. Renee Gracco. Cheryl Hardy. Shell Harris. Jennifer Hartwig. Monique Hatchman. Sandra Heiner. Donna Hillier. Sherry Hosseini. Robin Humphreys. Lisa Kennedy. Nicole Kircher. Colin King. Rebecca Laurier. Kylie Lawrence. Lynn Layton. Leslie Manu. David McCann. Deborah McCormick. Ursula McDonough. Pam Mackerlane. Andrew McFadden. Linda McIntyre. Michelle McLeod. Kate Mignani. Hugh Morton. Gay Mowbray. Lynette O'Reilly. Damien Orrell. Sarah Pearson. Sarah Phillips. Suzanne Phillips. Miriam Finn. Lynn Plum. Michelle Podger. Judith Pokaj. Chancellor, the next graduate has also been awarded the Nursing Medal for 1997 for outstanding academic achievement. Avriel Porter. Natalie Price. Kathy Raddick. Linda Ryan. Justina Scott. Wendy Simpson. Barbara Sprague. Sybil Theodore. Nicolette Thornton. Simon Vanderkrook. Gillian Boise, Trent Wakerley, Rhonda Wright, Annie Yum, Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Certificate in Critical Care Nursing, Anne-Marie Plumley. Chancellor, I present the graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma in Critical Care Nursing. Andrea Badham, Kim Brisky, Mary Campbell, Carol Dennis, Lisa Fay, Kim Goldsworthy, Joy Grace, David Grambauer, Vicki Holman, Deborah Johnson, Mary Johnston, Teresa Kelly, Joanne McKay, Karen O'Neill Griffin, Ingrid Osby, Anthony Poole, Sam Sinclair, Roz van der Buren, Sasha Wong, Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Emergency Nursing. Tracy Bennett, Shelley Crosdale, Michelle Cunningham, Carolyn Davey, Megan Harden, Shell Harris, Margaret Hobbs, Mary Richards, Charmaine van der Ruyden, Coral Williamson, Chancellor, I present two graduates who have been granted the Master of Critical Care Nursing. Jennifer Hunting. Michelle Sommele. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Nursing. Marjorie Braithwaite. Heather Crabb. Kim Ryle Manley. Meryl Stewart. Joan Thomas. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Nursing and Health. Chancellor, Professor Dennis Lincoln, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, will now present a candidate for the award of the University Medal. This will be followed by the presentation of candidates for the award of Doctor of Philosophy.
Chancellor, the University Medal may be awarded to a graduate who has completed the requirements for both a bachelor's degree of the university and a degree with honours in recognition of academic excellence. Chancellor, I am pleased to present a graduate of the Faculty of Engineering who has been granted the 1997 University Medal, Rodney Anthony Stewart. Chancellor, before proceeding with the presentation of graduates who have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, I will, with your permission, read a citation introducing each of those graduates. Today, the university is proud to honor its Doctor of Philosophy graduates who have satisfied the rigorous criteria for the award of the degree. Chancellor, the following graduate has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Environmental Sciences. Dr. Weeks. Dr. Weeks' study focused on quality assurance and improvement in environmental training, which he feels is increasingly important for Australian tour operators, both for passenger commentaries and for permits to operate in national parks and conservation reserves. Dr. Weeks used a quality assurance framework to determine how and how well commercial tour operators match the skills of their staff to the expectations of their clients and regulators. She determined that, with few exceptions, current environmental training competencies of mainstream tour guides are inadequate, and that major improvements in training opportunities are required nationally. Dr. Weeks. Chancellor, the following graduate has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Health Sciences. Dr. Harrison. Dr. Harrison established a new methodology to assess the action of vasodilators on coronary blood vessels including the action of the local hormone adenosine. He used microdialysis to map the production of this hormone in areas of myocardial infarction, and magnetic resonance techniques to study the relationship between energy metabolism and adenosine levels during myocardial ischemia. These studies have contributed substantial new information to our knowledge of the heart in health and disease. Dr. Harrison. Chancellor, that concludes the introduction of the Doctor of Philosophy candidates. I now ask that they be presented with their awards. Chancellor, I present Dr. Brenda Kathleen Weeks. Chancellor, I present Dr. Glenn John Harrison. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of Doctor of Philosophy graduates.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief musical interlude performed by the Queensland Conservatorium soloists.
call upon the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Roy Webb, to introduce the guest speaker.
Chancellor, our guest of honour, Mr. Clive Hildebrand, was born in Gladstone, Queensland 60 years ago. At the age of 5, his family moved to Brisbane, where he attended school and university. He graduated Bachelor of Engineering in Mining Engineering in 1960, and in that year proceeded to Oxford University as Queensland's Rhodes Scholar. There he studied philosophy and politics with economics majors, graduating Master of Arts. After Oxford, he pursued a career in mining, first in operations at Mount Isa, then in mineral exploration, development and investment from bases in Melbourne, Sydney and Johannesburg, covering a wide variety of minerals. In 1981, he returned to Brisbane as Managing Director of a stock exchange-listed coal company, which was twice restructured under his leadership to become QCT Resources. Since leaving QTC Resources as executive life in 1994, he has held a number of positions, including non-executive chair of Oster Electric, Highlands Gold, then Sugar Research and Development Corporation. He has held leadership positions in all of his school, university and professional involvements, including president of his Oxford College undergraduate body, 18 years as managing director of significant mining companies, and numerous offices in the mineral industry until 1994, including director of the Queensland Mining Council and chairman of its Environment Committee. Outside his career, he has pursued interest in charitable work, sport and education. For many years he has worked on the Brisbane Central Committee of the Red Shield Appeal, for 3 years as chairman, and also as chairman of NADAO Queensland Foundation, which was active until recently in training of disabled people for office work. His sporting involvement today is principally sculling, regularly in his racing boat Jogger, for exercise and pleasure only, he insists. His interest in education was fostered while in Sydney, where he worked with Sydney University Engineering Faculty on a review of mining education. His involvement with Griffith University commenced in 1989 with his appointment to the University Council, a position he occupied for 8 years. It was accompanied by a range of university committee memberships. In 1997, he chaired a committee reviewing the activities of the Information Services Division. He remains a member of the advisory committees of the Queensland Studies Centre and the National Institute of Law, Ethics and Public Affairs. In 1995, he accepted an invitation to become an honorary professor in the University School of International Business. In his own words, he commits fully to causes he believes in and counts Griffith University as one of those causes. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Mr. Hildebrand here this afternoon, and I invite him to deliver the occasional address.
Chancellor, Mr. John McCrossan, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Webb, Mr. Hobart, councillors and staff of the campus, friends of Griffith, and most important, students and graduates. It's an honour to speak to you, to be asked to speak to you today, the graduating students. And I must say that while I take responsibility for everything I'm going to say, if you are grading what I say, I've been greatly assisted by consulting my wife. We've raised 4 children who are barely many years ahead of yourselves. From my visits here over the years to the Gold Coast, I know that you're graduating from a campus with a growing spirit of lively inquiry in the best of university traditions. Your ceremonials remind me of those of my own graduation, but of course the surrounding social and economic circumstances have changed greatly. For my graduation in 1960, the United Nations Development Decade was ahead. which was aiming largely unsuccessfully to bring together the poorer and the richer nations and close the wealth gap. There were very large resource projects about to go around the world to meet the demand from heavy industry. And in our area, Japanese steel resurgence in particular made big demands upon Australia to supply raw materials. Jobs were plentiful, of course, for an Australian mining engineer graduate, but also plentiful for work entrants around the world, generally. Then there was the prospect of long-term employment, possibly lifetime career employment with the one employer. It was tempting to reminisce about the past, but for all of us, and particularly you, the graduates, what lies in the future is far more interesting. I wish to explore selected factors that will be relevant to your working life, and I'd like to start with a comment on value and wealth, then comment on how you might fit in. Think of wealth as an accumulation of value. There are generally two ways of thinking of value. Either as value economically measurable, which for today's purposes I'll refer to as a business value, or as values not economically measurable, and let's call that today community value, which has as its goal community harmony and fulfillment. Now, generally, investors as owners of businesses set business values through boards of directors. The community sets its own values through its representatives. We have 5 disciplines graduating here today, with engineering and information and communication technology principally but not entirely concerned with business values. We have environmental sciences, health sciences and nursing and health, who will often but not always be dealing with community values. I draw the difference, but it's a difference of emphasis only. I'm sure every one of you here, on graduating, intends to use your ability and your qualification to add value to your own life. In doing this, you automatically add value to the enterprise you work with, be it to the community direct or to your business and indirectly to the community through redistribution. My own experience is principally in business and has been primarily concerned with business values, how to make a profit in competition with others. But community values have always been part of the business toolkit. Business values, being profit-based, are largely self-interested, but longer-term self-interest of a business shows community values also have sound business value. No one could sensibly argue that public open space and parklands, clean air, clean water, personal security, help for the young, the aged, and those disadvantaged, or other desirable lifestyle factors have no value or have no beneficial effect on business and its workforce. Community wealth will boost the business health. Now, to fund community values, which don't make a profit, or don't show a profit you can measure, there's redistribution of wealth from business, for example, via taxation. So the business sector's wealth in this way sets a limit on affordable community wealth. It's a question of the appropriate allocation to community wealth at any one time without jeopardizing the growing business wealth. I know it's likely that among the graduates here today, there are those who are already successful investors with extensive knowledge on the subject of how business wealth grows. But I also know that many more young people can emerge from an education, even with high honours, but with limited knowledge of the central importance of business wealth creation, and limited confidence in planning their own financial future. In many cases, they are, at least initially, they have little interest in wealth beyond a living wage and an interesting job. But as a citizen, the issue concerns everyone equally, as jobs and community function depend on it. A business can only commence if it's able to invest funds with the promise of a profit. It can only continue if the actual profit is satisfactory to the investor. So profit then is a measure of value, which goes to the owner as a growth in value of his business or as dividends. In the process, there's also a spin-off of value to others through taxation, salaries, payments for goods and services, and others. Now, a business or a country only grows in relative importance if it performs better than average. In business, there's almost no chance of staying in the one place. Things either get better or they get worse. So I'd rather focus on the better than average performance needed to go forwards. So far, I haven't talked about people. Apart from people being by far the most interesting subject, they also by far the most valuable resource. So people considerations occupy the rest of my talk. Just where do we all fit in? Now, in my experience, people perform to their own expectations. If people expect little, if they have little sense of self-value, a poor opinion of their own worth, then they'll achieve little. And sadly, there's ample evidence of low self-esteem, and not only amongst young. On the other hand, if people have a good opinion of themselves, they're optimistic about their chances, then opportunities open up to them. How then to get people to be more confident and more optimistic? Now, of course, this starts in the cradle. The growth of self-esteem needs to be nurtured from the cradle through youth. And this is the time that young people should be encouraged to explore frontiers and, by definition, take risks of the spirit and learn to deal with setbacks. I think it's called tough love. Young Person's author John Marsden recently commented that he advised his school charges to take risks, not the normal take care. Now, all of you, every one of you will have successes ahead, but you'll also experience failure and other crises. Everyone does. If you persevere, you can learn and probably even profit from these setbacks. During my working life, I've had plenty of setbacks, but I've often had to redirect the career of others. And I mentioned, for example, one case of 25 years ago, feeling safe that by now is anonymous, where the young MBA graduate had been recruited as a financial analyst. He was full of confidence, presented well, but unfortunately scored very low on accuracy, which is not desirable for a financial analyst. He also scored low on his ability to accept this and improve. So I advised him he'd be better placed to use his confidence and energy with another enterprise, perhaps as an entrepreneur, anything but a financial analyst. Now, having bid him goodbye and good luck, a year later he came back and visited me to thank me for sacking him. He explained he'd teamed up with someone in the metal business. They'd embarked on a pipeline enterprise, which was very lucrative, and he was well on the way to being a millionaire. Now, I was happy for him. I congratulated him, of course, trusting all the time that this time he had the analysis right. I hope he did. I know that many young people have trepidation about seeking a career in a world that's changing so rapidly. Media outlets comment extensively on adversity and flaws in the system, which can often be discouraging. There's less and less opportunity for unskilled persons, but training is available, and you are graduating from that. I believe that the present offers numerous new opportunities, perhaps different, but perhaps even bigger than before, and just waiting for those of you who have the courage to explore and persist. A culture seems to have developed that any time adversity strikes, it has to be someone else's fault. We see today some lawsuits that would have appeared ridiculous a generation ago, and to me perhaps do today. There seems to be an illusion that risk can be eliminated by agreement or by legislation, and that an adverse outcome should have been insured against by somebody else, by taking care. Certainly there's no scope for laxity in workplace safety, but excessive concentration on financial protection denies the nature of risk as the flip side of reward, and denies the need to take responsibility for the outcomes of our own actions, win or lose. Now, no doubt some would still like to have a steady, safe job and to eliminate risk. But going to work from 9 to 5 in a steady job might be the greatest risk of all. The world is rapidly changing around you. Pretending the world will stand still around you could be likened to a board of directors overly occupying itself with protective legal and accounting considerations based on avoiding risk at the cost of planning sensible business investment decisions to advance the interests of shareholders. Or it could be likened to the worth of any government system which doesn't reward achievements, but it only highlights failures and punishes them. If you never make a mistake, you'll never make anything. Now, while learning will help you to avoid and perhaps avoid the obvious mistakes, you'll make some, and the impact of the mistake is often the most profound learning experience of all. Now, in whatever capacity you work, we badly need people who have the confidence in themselves to lead changes, to explore, to take calculated risks, and to back their own well-considered ideas and beliefs. Why should you assume that every foreigner is a giant? That cutting-edge technology lies only with the big corporations? That foreign technology is inherently better than our own? When I was a graduate, big was beautiful. Now it's possible with miniaturization for small to be beautiful. You don't need to be big. Partly as a result, ideas are at a premium as never before, the challenge being to package them and to market them. Australia's always been good at innovation, yet not often had the self-confidence to bring new products to market with local capital. Of course there will be difficulties, but new products are coming to market all the time, many of them very profitably. There can be great returns from new technology and research and development. I've talked of wealth, I've talked of yourselves. I'd like to marry together the earlier discussion of wealth and now employment and innovation by commenting that centres of wealth, the great centres of wealth being the Londons and New Yorks of the world, centres of wealth have the power to decide where the new investments will be made. The investment will certainly follow good ideas, but there'll be a bias for those ideas closest to home. So we need to encourage the very best ideas to attract that investment. The centres of wealth are also magnets for the legal, financial, commercial, investment management, research and development and other services needed to support it. If we want these high-level jobs, and these are the high-level jobs, we need to build our own centres of wealth. I'd like to sum up my message for you, and in doing so, I borrow from the outward bound philosophy. And the outward bound movement, as many of you would know, was inspired by the belief that survival and well-being depended at least on one's mental as on one's physical strength. Why were young sailors dying when their older colleagues, facing the same privations, were surviving? That movement aims to develop self-confidence and self-awareness through self-discovery for people of any age, believing it's never too late to start that journey. I quote, "People who really love life go exploring. They are outward bound on the oceans of their lives, even though physically they may go no farther than their own backyard. They don't hoard themselves, they spend themselves. And paradoxically, it's the spending that enriches them. I trust that's the way ahead for you all. Thank you."
Chancellor Mr Justice McCrossan, Vice-Chancellor Professor Webb, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure in expressing a vote of thanks to our distinguished guest, Mr Clive Hildebrand. As you have heard from the introduction, Mr Hildebrand has had an impressive career in senior corporate management, initially focused in the mining industry, where he held various positions at Mount Isa, Melbourne, Sydney and Johannesburg. Since 1994, when he left executive life, he has held a number of non-executive chair positions in industry. Apart from being a busy senior executive, Mr Hildebrand has found time to pursue commendable interests in a number of well-known community charities. Mr Hildebrand commenced by explaining to us a position that existed for employment some 40 years ago, where jobs were plentiful and heavy demand that existed particularly for raw materials from countries such as Japan, who were developing their industries in post-war years, hence created prospects for long-term, possible lifetime careers with one employer. He then went on to explain that he believed the future for graduates today was vastly more interesting. Mr Hildebrand supported this observation, firstly by developing the theme, wealth and value, and asked that we see wealth as an accumulated value, and explained there were two ways of viewing value, namely business value and community value. He then skillfully related one to the other, and then showed how, in the longer term, that community wealth cannot exist without business wealth, and hence, if we wish to have more community wealth, then it behoves us all to understand, support and encouragement the development of business wealth. Mr Hildebrand then explained how business wealth grows, and that a successful business cannot exist without profit, and a product of profit is job creation and taxation, the latter which is in some measure goes to creating community wealth. Mr Hildebrand then discussed people, which was described as being our most valuable resource. He explained the value of self-worth and how necessary for us to be optimistic, creative, and to lift our self-esteem, and how in this changing world the present offers numerous opportunities for people with energy, determination and courage. We need people who are risk takers, have confidence in themselves to lead the changes that are necessary and inevitable. Mr Hildebrand explained the value of the outward bound movement and how it aims to develop self-confidence, self-awareness through self-discovery for people of all ages. how people who love life go exploring, do not hoard themselves, but spend themselves, which enriches them. He concluded by asking, is this not the way ahead for us all? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have been fortunate today in having Mr. Hildebrand, an eminent Australian, give us his interesting address. I now ask that you might join with me in thanking him with acclamation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is now concluded. When the fanfares begin, please rise and remain standing as the dais party, the staff procession and the graduates retire.